Hello again, all my comic collecting friends. It's Matt, Comic Order 410, here bringing you installment 31 of my Keys variants and such. And to get started, I picked these up a few weeks ago. I only grab my pull list books once a month, so the rest of the movie variants I asked for are probably there. But I grabbed this. This is the Detective 40 movie variant by Brian Stelfreeze, and it's a homage to the Matrix poster. Very cool. And this, oddly enough, was the one causing the most noise on eBay after they came out. And this is the Grayson number 8 movie variant. And maybe it was so popular because it's just this badass homage to the Enter the Dragon movie poster by Bill Sienkiewicz. Very cool cover. I need to go pick up the rest of them. Next up is Magnus Robot Fighter. I am a pretty big fan of Magnus, but admittedly there's some big holes in my collection. I bought a lot of the reprints and trades and stuff. But I've always loved Russ Manning's beautiful painted covers to Magnus. They scream 60s sci-fi, but the robots that he designs are very simplistic. But they definitely, have that design of that era, and I just really like it. And this is Gold Keys Magnus number 1. It's the first appearance and origin of Magnus. This isn't in the best shape. It has the wax pencil date mark and some significant bad spots on the spine here, but I've had that for a while and I'm glad to have it. I really want to get a copy of Magnus, Gold Keys Magnus number 10, because it actually has published fan art from Walter Simonson, and so I guess you could technically say that's his first published artwork, and just think it's cool Walt was a fan of Magnus growing up. But this is Magnus number 12 in rough shape here. Horrible creasing, tearing. I got this for next to nothing. It even has 3 cents on the cover from a yard sale, but again, just a beautiful painted cover by Russ Manning. And Magnus 24. And this is another beautifully painted cover. I always wondered what that humongous ghost was doing there. Everybody's like a giant Magnus, impossible. And I guess this is the Space Spectre. That always freaked me out more than anything on this cover. But very cool nonetheless. I also grabbed these when they came out. Dark Horse Archives hardcover remastered reprints of Russ Manning's Magnus Robot Fighter. And I guess maybe they didn't print that many because Magnus wasn't that popular when it came out. But when this, not too long after this came out, the first edition was selling for like $80 on eBay. But I believe the cover price was 40 or 50 anyway. But I think it's since gone down since they've done reissues. So probably find them a lot more reasonably now than you could then, because then I know they've done a second printing. Moving on, this is a prestige format relaunch they tried with Magnus, and this is by a company called iBooks that didn't last very long at all, but they were smart enough to get Louise Simonson to write it, so you got to give them that much. Should have showed this before the iBooks version, but out of order here. This is my Valiant Magnus number 1 from 1991. Gorgeous Bob Layton cover. As you can see up here, the trading cards are inside, and that does, as Vin Crew point out, that's something you want to make sure if you're buying these early Valiants now, because they are heating up online. If you're buying these early Valiants, you want to make sure those are in there, because it does affect the grade and the value. But I also want to reiterate, many people are buying up Valiant books because that Chinese movie company's dumped hundreds of millions into Valiant movie properties now. But I wanted to reiterate that Magnus Robot Fighter, Dr. Solar, Man of the Atom, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, and Dr. Spectre are all currently owned by Dynamite under their Gold Key line. So I've seen sites recommending Magnus and Solar, and some of them, like I think Magnus 10 is First Rye, those books, yeah, I understand, but there's not going to be any Magnus or Solar movies from these companies, and I have seen it affect the value of the book, so just want to put it out there because I've seen Magnus going up on eBay. But great series, though, if you just want to read it. Dark Horse tried to relaunch Magnus as well. They brought in Mr. Valiant himself, Jim Shooter. Not sure who did this cover. It's a beautiful painted cover here, and this is a huge issue 1 for $3.50, a 56-page issue. But good stuff. Didn't last very long. And as I was saying, Dynamite now owns the rights to Magnus. This is their new series, written by Fred Van Lente, and this is the store exclusive from a local shop, Cards, Comics, and Collectibles. This is their store exclusive variant to number 1, and Sean Chen was there signing them. He's a very, very cool guy. This is another variant to Magnus number 1 by the Living Corpse team. Ken Hazer penciled this, Buzz Hassan inked it, and Blair Smith colored it. And it's one of Ken's trademark cutie covers. And it's their homage, obviously, to the Rock'em Sock'em Robots game. Those guys are very, very cool guys. This was cool. Valiant and Dark Horse teamed up at the time when Valiant was hot to do Magnus and Nexus team up. And you have these incredible covers by Steve Rude. Beautiful. Really like this little crossover to Predator vs. Magnus by, again, Dark Horse and Valiant at that time. And these covers are by Barry Windsor Smith. Really dig that. And I was reading on a site, these books aren't worth too much, but I was reading on a site that the trade paperback actually is a pretty low print run and goes for a little bit sometimes. But this, nevertheless, is Predator vs. Magnus number 2, and I love this cover by Barry Windsor Smith of the cloaking Predator in front and just the blue starry sky in the background. Very nice looking cover. Moving on, this is Man-Bat number 1. This miniseries is really cool. Bruce Jones, one of the great horror writers, wrote this, and good stuff. Don't have Man-Thing Volume 1 number 1. I need to get that, but this is Volume 2 number 1. It's a very nice copy. Big fan of the Man-Thing, Swamp Thing type creatures. And this is Man-Thing number 2. Bob Wysack covers here. And got this in a trade recently with my buddy Tom Ryan. This is the Marvel Knights relaunch of Man-Thing. And they put this out at the time the Sci-Fi Channel movie was coming out, which wasn't very good, but this Kyle Hotz cover is pretty good. And this was heralded as Steve Gerber's final Man-Thing story. Story was pretty good, I thought. Hippie was saying he didn't like the art, and I don't, but I do. I like Kevin Nolan's stuff sometimes, but it wasn't that great in this issue, but I did like his use of color. The color palettes he chose were good for a lot of the sequences in this book. But the good thing about this book is the covers by Art Adams. 3-issue mini there. And it was printed after Gerber passed away, obviously. Really dig this. This is the Zombie Virgin variant by Arthur Soydam to The Man with No Name number 1. Love that cover. This is Topps Comics Mars Attacks number 1. I believe this came out back not too long. Actually, I'm sorry, this is Mars Attacks Counter-Strike number 1. But I believe these came out not long after the Tim Burton movie. But, some good names on there. Keith Giffen, Charles Adler, and Ken Steacy. I'll buy that. This is Marvel Knights Marvel Boy number 1 by Grant Morrison and J.G. Jones. This is one of the first series, I know he did stuff before, but this is one of the first series that I remember starting to take notice of J.G. Jones' artwork, especially on his covers, and I got him to sign this for me. But this book was getting some attention maybe like 6 years ago or so, because they brought this Marvel Boy back, and he was Captain Marvel in Norman Osborn's evil Dark Avengers team. So, pretty cool story regardless. Another book I'm working on a run here, Marvel Comics Presents. This is a great anthology series when it came out. They'd have like 3 or 4 small stories for 3 or 4 different characters, and they would go on for 8 or 10 issues. So it's kind of a cool way to read different characters. And got this awesome wraparound Wolverine cover to #1 signed by the great Walter Simonson, who is a very nice guy. Here's Marvel Comics Presents #2. Most of them were I think maybe all of them were Wolverine. I remember this being red hot when it came out, this storyline. This is the Weapon X storyline that finally told, this is before Paul Jenkins' origin. This told Wolverine's origin in detail for the first time, or at least his origin as Wolverine and his, getting the adamantium through the Weapon X program. These books were red hot, and this is Marvel Comics Presents 72. And again, it's ironic, because Barry Windsor Smith didn't do a whole lot of prolific work after Conan, but he's one of my favorite artists, and he did those Magnus covers, and he did all the covers here on these Weapon X. So some beautiful covers here. Here's number 73, and I'm sure most Wolverine fans have read this, but if you're a Wolverine fan you haven't, you must pick these up. It's a great story. Number 74. Number 75. Need to upgrade this copy. It's only one. Oh, no, I do have an upgrade. Look at that. I have doubles. So there's a reader. But here's number 75, a better copy. So that was the quickest upgrade of a copy I've ever had. Here's Marvel Comics Presents 76, and you can see how long this ran. I mean, great story. Number 77. Another great cover there. Number 78. '79. 80. 81. 82. Firestar back up in that too. 83. 84. And I guess that's the last issue of the Weapon X story. Here's Marvel Comics Presents number 100 with the Sam Keith cover. And here's 120, another Sam Keith cover. And at one point, I don't know if they still are, but at one point these Venom ones were a little harder to come by and slightly more expensive than the others. But they relaunched, not sure what year this is, but it's definitely post 2000. But they relaunched Marvel Comics Presents, and it was pretty good. And this is an awesome cover here to number 1 by J. Scott Campbell. It's pretty good. And it was done the same way, as you can see, multiple characters here in that anthology. This is the Marvel Fumetti book. It's a weird one-shot. I remember thinking as a youngster, it was the first time I got to see what these creators actually looked at, and in many cases I regretted it. They also put this out, 83, Marvel Generic Comic Book. This is when all the generic brands and econo-buy stuff at the grocery stores were coming out. They made fun of it. This is a series I don't hear get mentioned very often, and it has beautiful covers by Marvel Editor-in-Chief Joe Quesada, and his handling of not just this Marvel Knights, this Marvel Knights series, but his handling of the entire Marvel Knights line in general is what got him his job, his promotion as to Editor-in-Chief. But this is Marvel Knights number 1, Daredevil cover. And it's weird because there was no variant to number 1, but they did 2 covers to number 2. And here's the Joe Quesada cover. Dagger. Beautiful cover. And Edward Barreto is the variant to number 2. Also very cool. The rest, a lot of these are Quesada covers. Again, number 3. Number 4 of rare rare solo cover of Zarin the Weapons Master. This might be the only cover he's ever appeared on solo. But, very cool. Number 5, Moon Knight and Daredevil. Number 6, Battle Damaged Punisher. Really dig this cover, and I'll have to reread this to see. That might be the Venom symbiote. I'm not sure. I'll have to reread this, but beautiful cover of Dagger here by Joe Quesada. And another stunner. Love the layout of this Doctor Strange cover to Marvel Knights 8. Just a stunning cover there. And issue 9, Trent Kenowiga takes over. And he did an indie book called Creed back in the 90s and was very popular for a short amount of time. But he also did a good Ghost Rider story. I think it was called The Hammer Chase, but it was very good. But his art's definitely cartoony. As you can look at and tell, he's heavily influenced by Kevin Eastman and Richard Corbin, who are two of my favorites. His art is hit or miss for me. There's some characters I'm like, I don't like the way you drew that, but I do like this cover to Marvel Knights 9 of Nightmare. Very crazy stuff. And here's Kenowiga's cover to Marvel Knights 10. Black Widow and Dagger. 11. Definitely, you know, has anime influence on his style as well. His cover to Marvel Knights 12. And last but not least, they did a few Marvel 2099 one-shots. God, I guess this was getting close to 10 years ago. But the cool thing about these, they had covers by Pat Lee, who was red hot coming off his Dreamwave Studios Transformers run before he screwed everyone in his company over. But he did the covers, and Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman wrote these books. So they're pretty cool. That's Daredevil 2099. Mutant 2099. And Punisher 2099. So those are cheap books if you're a Robert Kirkman fan to look out for. So once again, thank you all for stopping by. Always appreciate your time. Everyone, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and enjoy your comic books.